Hey everyone, this is Courage Raven, and I'm back with my recap and review of Penny Dreadful season number 1, episode number 3, which is titled Wicked Old World. So this episode opens up with Lewis finding the dead bodies of his friends that were murdered in the previous episodes, and as you can see, both bodies ended up burning in the car crash that Mr. Goss, his name's Goss, right? I still can't remember his name properly. Goss ended up killing them. Anyway, the person who ran the autopsy told Lewis that they were shot in the head before they were burned. And of course, Lewis knows that all of this is connected to Hitler somehow. So Lewis ends up telling the autopsy person to please delay his report because he needs some days to figure out what's happening. So he takes the bullets, and no one wears gloves, and I'm like, wear gloves, you all need to wear gloves. But anyway, he goes out. Of course, he is devastated, and he ends up saying a prayer for his friends. So moving on, we go to the Vega household, and Tiago is sitting outside with his mom, and he's like, Mom, what are you up to? And her mom is like, I need to work on Sunday because Mr. Croft's family needs me for a birthday party. Then moving on, inside the bedroom, we see that Raul is talking to Mateo, and Mateo tells Raul about Rico and how he is very interested in the Pachucos, and Raul is like, you need to stay away from them. Those people don't necessarily have any pride, and I don't want you mixing up with that gang. And Mateo then ends up asking Raul if he remembers anything from that day when he was shot, and Raul is like, I don't necessarily remember anything. And this is where Mateo ends up telling Raul that Raul was shooting up cops and Tiago was yelling at him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. So Tiago's the one who ended up shooting Raul. And I was like, why would Mateo say all of this now? But anyway, Mateo says that if he were a Pachuco, he would have killed or slit Tiago's throat right there. And Raul is like, Tiago is your brother, you need to respect him. And then Raul gives this speech where he tells Mateo that he needs to be kind towards Tiago because Tiago is stuck between these two places. He's not fully a cop, he's not fully a Chicano. So he, like, of course we know that Santiago has a whole lot of emotions to work through, and I like this scene where it showed that Raul understands where Santiago is and what Santiago feels emotionally, and he doesn't want Mateo to be angry at Tiago or to be mean to him. And then Raul is like, you know what, Mateo, go and meet up with the Pachucos. So this was the scene where he was telling Mateo about if he wants to know what hell looks like, he needs to look in Santiago's eyes and then be kind towards Santiago. And then Santiago comes into the bedroom and he's like, Raul, are you feeling okay? Are you awake? And Raul is like, yup. And Tiago ends up asking Raul about how he feels. And yeah, Raul, I like this scene again because we know that Raul is someone who loves his brother, and Raul, it turns out, has forgiven Tiago, and he ends up taking Tiago's hand and places it on his chest, and I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. This was a very, very sweet scene. So we're at the gym, and Alex is trying to get Townsend to shed a few pounds. She wants him to be fit, especially because he is getting a whole lot of coverage on TV, in photographs, and also radio. And this is where she tells Townsend that they are going to have a meeting with their friends, the people who are working with Hitler, and she would like him to not eat as much. And a new character pops in, and this is Councilwoman Beck, who kind of sees through what Townsend is trying to do, and she basically tells Townsend that she won't allow him to build the road or the motorway that he's planning, and Townsend, of course, is not happy about it. And Councilwoman Beck ends up saying that that the motorway will only be constructed over my dead body, and Townsend is like, you know what, as you wish. So we head on over to Sister Molly, and she is going over the program for her next concert or the sermon at the church, and then she remembers that she has a fitting and she needs to go, and her mom is like, Molly, where are you going? When you will be back? I have other appointments for you. And Molly is like, Mom, I need to go to the fitting because you want me to look good, right? And you can tell that Molly just wants to go somewhere else. And then her mom and Molly is like, you know what, Mom, I'm going, I'll see you tomorrow. And then Molly's mom ends up sending Randolph after her, which of course she would do that. So it turns out that Molly doesn't necessarily go out as much. However, when she does go out, she has this disguise where she ends up wearing a hat and glasses, so other people can't recognize her. And she wears her disguise and she goes out. So Lewis, it turns out, has been going through Hazlitt's books, and he finds out that Hazlitt has been like laundering money or hiding money or evading tax, something like that. However, Lewis doesn't pursue that right there because he's also stalking the young kid that we found that we got to see in the previous episode, and then he ends up asking the kid to come with him, and we know that Lewis is going to interrogate him. So over at the station, we see that Santiago is in the police station, even though it's his day off, and the commissioner comes in and he tells Santiago that he needs to take a break. He needs to understand that he shouldn't allow the cases that he's working on to take over his life. And I like that scene because it allowed Santiago and the commissioner to bond, even though you know that there's a whole lot of racism going on in the police station. So it turns out that Molly wanted to talk to Santiago, so Santiago goes to the bus stop outside the police station to go home, but this is where Molly comes in, and Molly is like, Santiago, can I talk to you? I wanted to talk to you about your brother. Did you guys do the service already? And Santiago tells her that no, my brother woke up. It was a miracle and yada yada yada. So these two are basically bonding, and then the conversation moves to how Molly is unable to go out as a normal person, and she considers herself a freak, and Santiago is like, no, you're not a freak, and all of that stuff. And yeah, I can see where Molly is coming from. I think that we are going to see a whole lot of Molly's background as this season progresses. Like, I'm not even sure if Adelaide is actually her real mom. Who knows? This is where Tiago tells Molly that would you like to just be Molly for a day, and if you want to, you know what, come with me. So Lewis ends up taking the kid to this deserted place alongside the road, and this is where he ends up threatening him. Now we know that Lewis isn't a murderer, but he can beat up a person if he wants to interrogate them, and you can see that the kid realizes that if he ends up betraying Mr. Goss, that he'll end up being dead. And this is where Lewis tells the kids that he needs to work with him because Lewis works with the police and he can help him. And the kid ends up giving Lewis a name, Werner van Braun or something like that. So yeah, there's this entire neo-Nazi history mystery going on. So Tiago and Molly are having fun at the fair, and he ends up winning a Popeye figure for Molly, and these two are bonding. I like these two as a couple, but you can just tell that Molly is hiding some stuff from him. So these two end up talking about Tiago's childhood, and this is where we learn that Tiago has already lost his father. He also lost a sister and a brother to illness. So while these two are bonding, we see that Randolph is eating cotton candy, and he is, he's just following Molly around. Over at Dr. Kraft's clinic, he is waiting for Elsa to show up, but Elsa isn't here, and Dr. Kraft is like, you know what, he tells his assistant to cancel all of his appointments for the day because he needs to go and like see what's up with Elsa. So he goes to Elsa's house and he sees that Frank is outside crying. So you just know that Elsa has this entire manipulative strategy going on. Found out that Elsa's husband ended up hitting her because Frank makes him angry, because Frank isn't a strong boy, he's ill, and all of that stuff. And this is also where Elsa tells Dr. Kraft that Frank is being bullied by other Jews in school, and I'm like, Elsa, I can see what you're doing, and I am not a fan of it. So yeah, these two bond, and Dr. Kraft ends up inviting Elsa and Frank to his son's birthday, and this is also where Dr. Kraft ends up kissing Elsa, but she gently pushes him away because Elsa doesn't want to kiss Dr. Kraft inside her husband's home. However, she does accept their invitation about the birthday party, so I guess we'll get to see Elsa and a creepy kid attending another kid's birthday party. But yeah. So over at the carnival, Molly says that it's time for her to go home, and she also tells Tiago that he needs to keep the Popeye figure with him because she can't take it home with her. And this is also where Tiago and Molly kiss each other. Now, while they were kissing, if you notice, Tiago's foot ended up raising a bit, and I found it to be a very cute scene. At the meeting with Goss, Townsend ends up telling Goss that he needs to take care of Councilwoman Beck. He wants Goss to kill her, and Goss is like, Mr. Townsend, you're not the one who gives me orders because I speak on behalf of Adolf Hitler. I'm the one who gets to give you orders. And this hurts Townsend's ego, and Alex isn't happy about it because apparently handling Townsend is very difficult for Alex. For some reason, so after Townsend storms off, Alex ends up scolding Gloss and his henchman, and she tells Gloss that he isn't as smart as he thinks he is. So Alex goes out and she tries to take Townsend out for a few drinks, but Townsend is sulking and he drives off, and Alex ends up turning into her Magda persona, and because she's angry, she starts walking down the street, and windows start blowing from different shops as she walks past them. So Mateo ends up going to the Crimson Cat, where he ends up meeting Rico. And for those of you who were waiting for queer characters to show up in Penny Dreadful, episode 3 is where we get to see a whole lot of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Rico is supposed to be a queer character. I wouldn't be surprised if Mateo ends up being a queer character. But yeah, these two dance, and this is where we see Magda's other form as Rio. Her name is Reina, I guess, her full name, and she is known as Rio. And at first I was like, what's a white woman doing in here? But don't worry, the episode ends up addressing this as well. So Rio invites Mateo for a dance. Now, I was very surprised that the actor who plays Mateo could dance like this. Like, you all, this was some very impressive dancing. So while they're dancing, Officer Riley comes in, and he ends, because apparently there's now a curfew, and he wants all of the queers to get out of the bar, and of course a fight ensues, and this allows Rico, Rio, and Mateo to run away. So Molly sneaks into her house. However, her mom is already waiting for her, and her mom sings Popeye's theme song, and that of course creeps Molly out, so she runs to her room. We get an explanation about why Rio is here. So she tells that her parents were from old Spain, so she's part of the movement. She's linked to the Pachuco movement somehow, whatever you want to make of it. And we also get to learn more about Rico's backstory, about how he had to sell his own body to survive, and then he ended up meeting the leader of the Pachuco gang, and this is how he ended up getting into it. And also in this scene, we see that Rico isn't really interested in doing a whole lot of damage, but Rio ends up manipulating him. Rio tells Rico that 90 years ago, this place was Mexico, and they need to take back what was taken from them. So it will be very interesting to see how Mateo ends up playing a role in all of this. Luis invites Tiago to a bar, and he tells Tiago that he'll be taking a few days off because he needs to bury a friend. And this is also where Luis tells Tiago that Hazlitt was sleeping with Sister Molly. Of course, Tiago doesn't want to believe this information, but apparently Hazlitt was hiding money. He was evading taxes and all of that. He also apparently had a house. Who knows? But Lewis wants Tiago to read all of his files, and also he wants Tiago to realize that he can't fully trust Sister Molly. Episode ends with these little flashes of scenes featuring all of the characters. We see Lewis still working on the mystery about what Hitler plans to do in Los Angeles. Then we have Molly's mom outside Molly's door, and she's like, "Do you want to build a snowman?" And Molly is creeped out, and I'm very interested in learning more about Molly and where she came from and how she was as a kid. And then we have Mr. Townsend hooking up with another guy. So yeah, it turns out that Mr. Townsend is a queer character. Rio is a queer character. Rico, I wouldn't be surprised if he is a queer character as well. So we have our queer characters in the Penny Dreadful City of Angels series. However, I don't want every queer character to be a bad person because that's not a good look. But let's see what happens. We see Mateo getting a tattoo which tells everyone that he's part of the Pachuco gang. So yeah, again, let's see what happens here. So the episode closes with Vega, after having gone over all of the files that Lewis gave him. Of course, he is now suspecting Sister Molly as well, and he feels sad because he likes Molly, and he ends up looking at the Popeye figure that he won Molly, and the episode ends. So yeah, I'll be doing a written review of this for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. I was able to watch this episode earlier on the Showtime app. However, it will air on Showtime tonight, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, you guys should subscribe to the Showtime app because you get new episodes earlier. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comment section below. I am enjoying this series, even though I would like more supernatural in it. I'm still enjoying it. I do like the characters, and I am looking forward to seeing where all of this moves forward, because I think that this season has 10 episodes, so there are still like 7 episodes to go. Let me know what you guys thought, and until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. I'll see you guys later.